Vanessa Cole stood in the fluorescent buzz of an all-night gas station, staring at the crumpled bills in her palm. $8. Her last $8. Her son's lunch money for the week. Now just damp paper in her hand. Then she heard it. A strangled gasp for air, the kind of sound a person makes when their body is failing them. She turned. A massive man, easily 6'4", with a salt and pepper beard and sleeves of ink running down his arms, was slumped against a Harley Davidson. His face was ashen. His hand clawed at his chest. He was dying right there on the concrete, and the parking lot was empty except for her. "Don't you dare!" A voice snapped from the doorway. The clerk, a heavy-set man in his 50s, pointed a finger at her. "You see those colors? That's the Diablos. You get involved, you get nothing but trouble." Vanessa looked at the dying man, then back at the $8. She thought about her son, Mateo, waking up before dawn, asking if there was cereal. She thought about the eviction notice tucked under the salt shaker on their kitchen table. But the man on the ground was silent now. His chest had stopped moving. She ran inside, threw the $8 on the counter, grabbed a bottle of water and a pack of aspirin, and ran back out. She saved a life without knowing a single thing about the man she was saving. What Vanessa didn't know was that choice was about to detonate in her life like a grenade, tearing down every wall she'd ever built. Because the next morning, the thunder of 100 motorcycles would roll down her street. Let me take you back to the morning before that night. Before everything changed. Vanessa's phone alarm went off at 4:45 a.m., a harsh electronic jingle that was her daily call to battle. She silenced it immediately so it wouldn't wake Mateo. She lived in a 2-bedroom walk-up in a tired section of Tucson, Arizona. The complex was called Desert Vista, but the only view was of a chain-link fence and a parking lot full of cracked asphalt. She moved through the dark kitchen by memory, opening the cupboard. A box of generic cornflakes, maybe 2 servings left. She poured the last of it into a bowl, using the milk so sparingly it barely moistened the flakes. When Mateo shuffled in, his dark hair a mess and his eyes still heavy with sleep, she put the bowl in front of him. "Morning, Mijo." "Morning, Ma." He didn't ask why she wasn't eating. He was 7, but he already understood the arithmetic of their life. There was never enough to go around. Vanessa worked 2 jobs. Days at a dry cleaner's called Sunset Cleaners, where she steamed and pressed shirts for $12 an hour. Nights at a Tex-Mex joint on the outskirts of town, waiting tables for the trucker crowd, hoping for tips that might buy a few extra groceries. Her beat-up Honda Civic had given up 3 weeks ago. The repair was $1,000 she didn't have, so now she walked. Miles to work, miles home, her only pair of sneakers worn so thin she could feel the hot pavement through the soles. The bills were a constant, humming anxiety in the back of her mind. Rent was due in 4 days. She was $200 short. Mateo's inhaler for his asthma was running low, a $40 copay she couldn't cover. The gas bill had a red past due stamp on it. But Vanessa had learned from her own mother, a woman who'd cleaned houses her whole life, that complaining was a luxury. Her mother's voice was a constant echo. "Mija, you get what you give. You give kindness, you get it back. Maybe not today, but someday." So Vanessa smiled at the dry cleaner's customers. She asked the truckers how their runs were going, even when her feet screamed and her back ached. She kept a little notebook where she wrote down 3 good things every night, no matter how small. It was a promise she'd made to herself to never lose sight of the light. That Tuesday started like any other. She walked Mateo to the neighbor's apartment. Mrs. Garcia, a retired abuela who watched him for a few dollars a week, and then headed to the dry cleaners. She steamed shirts for 8 hours, the hiss of the machine a white noise in her brain. At 2 p.m., she clocked out and began the long walk to the diner. Her shift didn't start until 3, but she liked to get there early, sit in the back, and drink a glass of ice water to cool down. Her friend Dolores, a black woman in her 60s who'd worked the grill at the diner for 30 years, slid into the booth across from her. "You look like you're carrying the whole world, honey." "Just the usual weight," Vanessa said, managing a tired smile. "You're running yourself ragged for that boy." "He's worth it." Dolores reached across and patted her hand. I know he is. But you can't pour from an empty cup, Vanessa. You hear me? Vanessa nodded, but they both knew she had no choice but to keep pouring. The dinner shift was a blur of sizzling fajitas, the clatter of plates, and the constant refilling of iced tea glasses. By 10 p.m., when she finally sat in the back room to count her tips, she had $22 in ones and fives. She laid it all out on the table. 22 in tips. Plus the $31.47 she had left from yesterday. Total, $53.47. She needed bus fare for tomorrow. That was $4. She set it aside. That left $49.47. She tucked $40 away for rent. That left $9.47. $9 for Mateo's breakfast and maybe some bread and peanut butter for the rest of the week. She folded the $9 carefully and put them in her pocket. Then she started the 2-mile walk home. It was late, the streets of her neighborhood quiet and dark. She decided to cut through the gas station lot on the corner to use the restroom. It was a decision born of simple necessity. It was a decision that would rewrite her entire existence. She was walking back out, zipping her jacket against the cool desert night, when she heard the gasping. She stopped. A man, huge and imposing, was crumpled next to a massive motorcycle. He was on his knees, one hand braced against the bike, the other clutching his chest. His face was the color of concrete. Vanessa froze. Every survival instinct, every warning her mother had ever given her about staying safe, staying invisible, screamed at her to walk away. She had a son. She couldn't afford trouble. She couldn't afford anything. But then the man collapsed. He fell onto his back, his head hitting the pavement with a sickening thud. His eyes were open but unseeing, his mouth open in a silent scream for air. He wasn't breathing. "Help!" Vanessa shouted, her voice sharp with panic. "Someone call 911. The clerk, a white guy with a scraggly beard, stepped out, lighting a cigarette. He looked at the man on the ground and shrugged. "Lady, are you nuts? That's Diablo territory. You don't mess with that." "He's having a heart attack," Vanessa yelled. "Not my problem," the clerk said, taking a long drag. "My advice? Walk away. Those guys are poison." An older man, maybe 60, with a cowboy hat and a weathered face, came out of the store. He took one look at the scene and grabbed Vanessa's arm. "Miss, listen to the man. You don't want that kind of heat. You got kids? Go home." Vanessa pulled her arm back. "A man is dying." The cowboy shook his head, muttering about stupid people, and got in his truck. He drove away without a backward glance. The clerk went back inside, leaving Vanessa alone with the dying man. She looked down at him. His chest was still. His lips were turning blue. And in that moment, she wasn't in a gas station parking lot. She was 10 years old, standing in a hospital hallway, watching doctors try to revive her Tio after a stroke. They said if someone had found him sooner, if someone had helped, but no one had. Vanessa dropped to her knees. "Sir? Sir, can you hear me?" His eyes fluttered. His lips moved, but only a whisper came out. "Meds, forgot my meds." She pulled out her phone. 1 bar of signal. She dialed 911. It dropped. No, no, no. She scrambled to her feet and ran inside. "You have to call an ambulance. He's dying." The clerk rolled his eyes but picked up the phone. Vanessa didn't wait. She scanned the shelves, grabbed a bottle of baby aspirin and a large bottle of water. She slammed them on the counter. "How much?" $9.47. She didn't hesitate. She pulled out her last $9 and pushed them across the counter. The clerk gave her 53 cents in change. She didn't even take it. She just grabbed the stuff and ran. Back outside, she knelt beside the man. Her hands were shaking as she tore open the aspirin. She shook 2 tablets into her palm. Hey, look at me. I need you to chew these." "Can you do that?" He opened his mouth weakly. She placed the tablets on his tongue. "Chew." "Come on, chew." He chewed, his face contorted in pain. She held the water to his lips, and he took a sip. "Help is coming," she said, her voice softer now, her hand on his massive shoulder. "You're gonna be okay. Just stay with me." His hand reached up and grabbed hers. His grip was weak, but it was there. What's your name?" he rasped. "Vanessa. Vanessa Cole." "Vanessa," he coughed. You saved me." "Not yet. But I'm trying." In the distance, sirens wailed. And then, from the other direction, another sound. The roar of a motorcycle. A younger man, maybe 30, with close-cropped hair and a lean, intense face, skidded into the lot. He wore a black vest with the same skull and wings patch. He jumped off the bike and ran over. "Hawk. Oh God, Hawk." He dropped to his knees. He looked at Vanessa, his eyes wild with shock. You're helping him?" "He needed help," Vanessa said simply. The younger man stared at her as if she'd just performed a miracle. "People run from us." They crossed the street. Vanessa didn't answer. She just kept her hand on Hawk's shoulder until the ambulance screamed into the lot. Paramedics swarmed, taking over with practiced efficiency. One of them looked at Vanessa. "You give him aspirin?" "Yes. 2 tablets. Maybe 3 minutes ago." The paramedic nodded. "Good call. You probably saved his life." They loaded Hawk onto a stretcher. As they lifted him, his eyes found hers again. His hand reached out and grabbed her wrist. His voice was a thread of sound. "Tell them. Hawk sent you." She had no idea what that meant. The younger man stood up as the ambulance doors closed. He walked over to Vanessa, pulled a simple white business card from his pocket, and handed it to her. It had a phone number and a small logo, a crown with wings. "My name's Cruz," he said. "Hawk's gonna want to thank you. Please, call this number tomorrow." Vanessa took the card, her hands still trembling. She looked at the logo, then back at him. "Who is he?" Cruz's smile was thin, but his eyes were serious. "He's someone who doesn't forget. Someone who pays his debts." The ambulance pulled away, sirens fading into the night. The clerk stood in the doorway, arms crossed, shaking his head in disbelief. Vanessa stood alone in the parking lot with 53 cents in her pocket and a heart hammering against her ribs. She had no idea what she'd just done. She walked home in the dark, replaying every second. The clerk's words echoed. Those guys are trouble. Had she made a terrible mistake? She didn't know yet, but she was about to find out. At the hospital, Hawk was stabilized. Cruz paced the waiting room, his phone glued to his ear, summoning others. Hawk's real name was Hector Rivera, and he wasn't just some biker. He was the founder of the Diablos MC, a man with a history as complex and dark as the tattoos that covered his body. But he was also the founder of something else, something no one in that gas station could have guessed. The next morning, Vanessa's alarm went off at the usual time. She was exhausted, her mind a fog of anxiety and doubt. She opened the cupboard. 1 banana, half a box of saltines. That was it. She sliced the banana onto a plate with a few crackers and poured a glass of water. Mateo patted in, rubbing his eyes. "What's for breakfast, Ma?" "A special breakfast, mijo. Banana and crackers." She forced a smile. Mateo didn't complain. He never did. He just climbed into his chair and started eating. Vanessa sat across from him, watching him, her stomach empty, her mind churning. Then came a knock at the door. It was barely 7 a.m. She opened it to find Mrs. Garcia, her neighbor, her face tight with worry. "Vanessa, baby, we need to talk. I heard you helped one of those Diablos last night. One of those biker gang members." Vanessa's stomach dropped. "How did you know?" "My nephew works at that gas station. He told me." "Mija, those are bad people. Drugs, violence, what were you thinking? You have Mateo to think about. He was having a heart attack, Mrs. Garcia. He was dying." Mrs. Garcia shook her head, her disappointment palpable. "Your heart is too big, Vanessa. It's going to get you hurt. Mark my words." She turned and walked back to her apartment. Vanessa closed the door and leaned against it, her hands shaking. She looked at Mateo, happily eating his crackers, oblivious. Doubt gnawed at her. Had she brought danger to their door? At the dry cleaners, she worked on autopilot, her mind replaying the warning. During her break, she pulled out the white card. She stared at the crown with wings. Finally, she typed a text to the number. "This is Vanessa Cole. Cruz gave me this number." Her phone rang instantly. Unknown number. She let it go to voicemail. A minute later, she listened. "Vanessa, it's Cruz. Hawk wants to meet you. Today. 3 p.m. at Rosita's Cafe on 4th Avenue. Please come." Her heart pounded. Rosita's was a small diner on the other side of town. She was off at 2. She could make it. But should she? As she left the dry cleaners that afternoon, she noticed 2 motorcycles parked across the street. 2 men in vests watched her. When she met their eyes, they nodded respectfully, then rode off. A chill ran down her spine. She took the bus to 4th Avenue. As the bus rounded the corner, her breath caught in her throat. The street outside Rosita's was lined with motorcycles. Dozens of them. Chrome and leather gleaming under the Arizona sun. Her stomach clenched. She almost stayed on the bus. But something, a stubborn thread of defiance, made her get off and walk toward the diner. Bikers lined the sidewalk. Big men, tattooed and bearded. Women in vests, arms crossed. They weren't loud. They weren't threatening. They were just waiting. And as Vanessa walked past, each one nodded to her. One older man with a gray braid touched 2 fingers to his forehead in a silent salute. She reached the door, took a breath, and walked inside. The diner was packed with bikers. The silence was absolute. Every single person turned to look at her. Cruz appeared from the back, a genuine smile on his face. "Vanessa, thank you for coming. He's in the back." As they walked through the diner, something incredible happened. The bikers stood up. One by one, they rose to their feet as she passed, a wave of silent respect. Vanessa had no idea what it meant, but it felt sacred. It felt like a benediction. Cruz led her to a corner booth. Hawk sat there, looking pale but alive. When he saw her, he started to stand, wincing. "Please stay seated," Vanessa said quickly. "Vanessa Cole," he said, his voice rough but strong. "Please sit." She slid into the booth across from him. "How are you feeling?" "Alive. Which is more than I'd be if you'd walked away. Doctor said if you hadn't acted, I wouldn't be here." He leaned forward, his dark eyes intense. "Cruz told me everything. You wouldn't take money. You've got a little boy, 2 jobs. You used your last $9 to save a stranger." Vanessa shifted, uncomfortable with the scrutiny. "It wasn't about money." "I know." He reached into his vest and pulled out a worn photograph. He slid it across the table. It showed a younger Hawk, a woman, and a little girl, maybe 8, with a bright smile and dark braids. "That's my daughter," Hawk said quietly. "Her name was Elena. We called her Lena." Vanessa looked at the photo, then back at him. "Was leukemia. She was 8. We didn't have the money for the treatment she needed. By the time we raised it, it was too late." His jaw tightened. "After she died, I made a promise. Anyone who shows real kindness, especially when they've got nothing to give, I help them. It's what Lena would have wanted." Vanessa's throat tightened. "I'm so sorry." Hawk looked her in the eye. "Tomorrow morning, something's going to happen. Don't be scared. Just trust me." "What do you mean?" He just smiled, a tired, knowing smile. "You'll see." He stood, shook her hand firmly, left cash on the table, and walked out with Cruz. Vanessa sat alone, surrounded by silent bikers, completely bewildered. An older biker with a kind face leaned over. "You did good, miss. Real good." She had no idea what he meant. Back on Vanessa Street, the news had spread like wildfire. Mrs. Garcia stood on her stoop with Mr. Okonkwo, a Nigerian man in his 50s from 2 doors down. "That girl Vanessa is mixed up with the Diablos now," Mrs. Garcia said, her voice heavy with worry. "I warned her." Mr. Okonkwo frowned. "Diablos on our street? We have children. We must do something." By nightfall, the whole block was on edge. Doors were locked early. Curtains stayed drawn. No one knew what was coming, but everyone was afraid. Vanessa rode the bus home with a knot of fear in her stomach. She'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. She woke the next morning to a sound like rolling thunder. Engines.
Hundreds of them.
She rushed to the window and looked out. Her street was filled with motorcycles, chrome gleaming in the early light. Bikers standing in formation. "Oh my God," she whispered. Mateo ran in, his eyes wide. "Mama, why are there so many motorcycles?" Vanessa had no answer. She threw on clothes and rushed outside, Mateo clinging to her hand. The entire neighborhood had come out, but they weren't curious. They were terrified. Windows slammed shut. Parents pulled children inside. Mrs. Garcia was on her phone, her voice shaking. "Yes, police. There's a gang on our street." Mr. Okonkwo marched toward Vanessa, his face flushed with anger. "Vanessa, what have you done? You've brought criminals to our homes." Other neighbors joined in, voices rising. "We told you. This is your fault." Mateo started to cry. Vanessa pulled him close, her hands shaking. Cruz stepped forward, hands raised. "Everyone, please. We're not here to cause trouble." "Then why are you here?" Mr. Okonkwo demanded. "We're here to help one of your own." Cruz's voice carried over the crowd. "Vanessa saved a man's life 2 nights ago. Now we're here to save hers." Silence fell. A large truck pulled up, and bikers began unloading boxes. Cruz turned to the crowd. "My name is Cruz. I'm a volunteer with Lena's Light, a non-profit that helps families in crisis." "Non-profit," someone muttered skeptically. "The man Vanessa saved, Hawk, is our founder. He started Lena's Light after his daughter died of leukemia. In 20 years, we've helped over 4,000 families. We pay medical bills. We build homes. We give people a second chance." Mr. Okonkwo's face changed. "Lena's Light? You helped my cousin in Phoenix. He's a veteran. You paid for his therapy." Cruz nodded. A woman gasped. "You paid for my daughter's surgery 2 years ago." Another voice. "You saved my father's house from foreclosure." The atmosphere shifted. Fear melted into wonder. Mrs. Garcia's hand flew to her mouth. "Lord, have mercy. We judged you all wrong." Hawk stepped out of the truck, moving slowly. The crowd parted as he walked toward Vanessa. He turned to face the neighbors. "I get it," he said, his voice calm. "You saw the jackets, the bikes, the ink. You got scared. That's human." He pointed to Vanessa. But this woman didn't see any of that. She saw a man dying, and she used her last $9, her son's breakfast money, to save my life. She didn't know who I was. She didn't care. She just saw a human being who needed help. Silence. Then Mr. Okonkwo stepped forward, his eyes wet. "I judged you by your jacket. I was wrong. I am sorry." He extended his hand. Hawk shook it. One by one, the neighbors approached, apologizing, shaking hands. Mrs. Garcia walked to Vanessa. "I'm sorry I yelled, baby. You were braver than all of us." Vanessa couldn't speak. Hawk turned to her. "You gave me a second chance. Let me give you one." He handed her an envelope. Inside was a check for $25,000. She stared, unable to process it. "For rent. For whatever you need," Hawk said. There was more. A letter. An official job offer from Lena's Light. Community Outreach Coordinator. Salary. $55,000 a year. Full benefits. Health insurance. Start in 2 weeks. Vanessa's knees buckled. She dropped to the ground, sobbing. Mateo knelt beside her. "Mama, why are you crying?" "Happy tears, Mijo. Happy tears." The neighbors erupted in applause. Some were crying too. Engines revved in a thunderous celebration that echoed down the street. Mrs. Garcia pulled Vanessa into a hug. "Baby, you showed us how to be better." "I'm so sorry." Hawk knelt beside her, wincing. "One more thing." He pulled out a key. "We bought your car from the impound lot. It's fixed. It's around the corner." Vanessa looked up, her face streaked with tears.
"Why?
Why all this?" Hawk's eyes glistened. 20 years ago, my daughter died because we didn't have the money to save her. I swore I'd never let that happen to another family. You saved my life with your last dollars. You didn't hesitate. You didn't ask for anything. That's who the world needs. That's who I need. Cruz led her to the truck. Inside, it was filled with furniture. A new bed for Mateo, groceries, school supplies, clothes. Vanessa laughed through her tears, disbelief and joy mixing. This is too much. It's not enough, Hawk said. But it's a start. Bikers and neighbors worked together to unload. Fear and prejudice transformed into community and love. Hawk stood beside Vanessa. Next month, we start building a community center right here. A place for job training, after-school programs, a free clinic. Vanessa shook her head. You can't. I can. And we are. We're calling it Casa Cole, named after you. Mateo tugged her hand. Mama, they brought me a bike. Vanessa looked at her son's face, pure joy erasing the fear. For the first time in years, she felt real hope. Thank you, she whispered to Hawk. He smiled. You already thanked me. You saw me. Not the vest, not the tattoos. Just me. That's all I needed. 6 months later, everything was different. The video of that day had gone viral. There were critics, of course. People who still saw only the patches and the bikes. But the voices of the families Lena's light had helped drown them out. A veteran in Texas. A single mother in California. An elderly man in New Mexico. Their stories changed the narrative. Vanessa now led a team of 5 coordinators, all people she'd first helped, now paying it forward. Lena's light had expanded to 3 more towns. Hawk had fully recovered and spent his days visiting the centers, shaking hands, telling his daughter's story. One day, Vanessa returned to the gas station. She walked inside and asked the new manager if she could put a small plaque on the wall outside. He agreed. It read, "Here, a small act of kindness changed everything. Lena's light." The old clerk was there, bagging groceries. He saw her and walked over. "I remember you," he said quietly. "I told you not to help him. I was wrong. I've been following your story. I'm sorry." Vanessa smiled. "We all learn. That's what matters." She walked out of that gas station for the second time. But this time, she wasn't alone. She had a family now, a community, a purpose. And it all started with $9 and a choice. A year later, at the anniversary celebration for Casa Cole, the building overflowed with people. Vanessa stood at a small podium, looking out at the crowd. Mateo sat in the front row, beaming. "A year ago," she began, her voice steady, "I spent my last $9 on a stranger. I didn't know who he was. I didn't care. He needed help. That's it." The room applauded. I was scared. People told me I was making a mistake. But what I learned is this. Kindness is never a mistake, even when it costs you everything, especially then. After her speech, a young woman approached her, tears in her eyes. "Vanessa? My name is Emily. You helped my mom 6 months ago. She had cancer. She's in remission now. It was because of you. Because of Lena's light." They hugged tightly, both crying. That evening, after the celebration ended, Vanessa walked home. She still walked everywhere. As she passed a different gas station, she saw a young man sitting on the curb, his head in his hands.
She stopped. "Hey."
"You okay?" He looked up, his eyes red. "My car broke down. I don't have money for a tow. I'm supposed to pick up my daughter from daycare." Vanessa opened her purse and pulled out $50. She handed it to him.
He stared at it. "What?"
"No, I can't." "Yes, you can. Get your car towed. Get your daughter." She pulled out a Lena's light card and handed it to him. "When you're back on your feet, help someone else. Pass it on." Tears streamed down his face. "Thank you. I won't forget this." Vanessa smiled. "I know you won't." She walked away, her heart full. A year ago, she'd been the one with nothing. Now she was the one giving. The cycle continued. Kindness creates more kindness. And somewhere, she knew Lena was watching, smiling, proud. Vanessa's story started with $9 and a choice. She could have walked away. She could have listened to the fear. But she didn't. She saw a human being who needed help, and she helped. That one choice changed everything. Here's my question for you. Who can you help today? Who needs your $9, your time, your kindness? And who have you judged unfairly? What person have you walked past because of how they looked? Vanessa looked past the leather vest and the tattoos.
She saw a person, not a stereotype.
If this story moved you, don't just watch.
Act. Help someone this week.
Because the more people who choose kindness, the more it spreads. Now go be someone's Vanessa.